Every girl in Kazuaki's life is convinced she's his number one. His childhood friend rewired her entire personality for him. His classmate thinks they're basically dating. His cousin believes he's madly in love with her. And Kazuaki has no idea any of this is happening because he's too busy studying for exams.
Kazuaki Okabe is a second-year high school student with one goal and one goal only: pass his exams. This guy spends every waking moment studying, during breaks, on the walk to school, literally all of it. He refuses to give in to any worldly desires, and he means it. But there's a problem, and she's sitting right next to him. His classmate, Kiara Sano, keeps locking eyes with him from across the room, and it's not subtle. She watches him with this soft little smile like she knows something he doesn't. Kazuaki catches her staring, and immediately his brain short-circuits. Is she in love with him? No, he can't think like that. He's got exams to worry about. He barely recovers before the next hit lands. Kiara walks up and admires how he's already studying on the first day of the new term. She tells him he still doesn't have any friends though, and then drops the line. Then I guess, with a look that could kill a man's focus permanently. She says she'll have him all for herself this year again, smiling like a sunflower in full bloom. Kazuaki's face turns beet red, and another girl, Hina Nishina, rushes over asking if he's okay. He tells himself this is just how extroverts behave. Nothing more, absolutely nothing romantic about it. He is not fine at all. It's their second year in the same class, and once again their seats are right next to each other. Hina cheerfully declares it must be fate at this point. Kazuaki internally screams about why she keeps saying things that lead him on. He tries to tell her it's best she doesn't say stuff like that. Hina asks why, and Kazuaki blurts out that she's cute. The words hang in the air and Hina's eyes go wide with surprise. Kazuaki panics. He'll end up getting the wrong idea if this keeps happening. He retreats, muttering that he just wants to study, while Hina chases after him, demanding to know what he meant. The school day ends, and Kazuaki says goodbye to his friend Aki-kun, glad they got to catch up. He sighs with relief, but it lasts about 3 seconds. A girl named Sano-san appears out of nowhere and asks him to walk home together, and Kazuaki has no idea why. He asks what she wants from him, genuinely confused and a little scared. Sano says she just wanted to walk home with him, nothing more. She asks if she can call him Kazu-kun since his name is Kazuaki. He agrees hesitantly while internally screaming that he has absolutely no idea what this girl is thinking. Aki-kun pops back in with a teasing grin, saying it looks like she wants to be friends. Kazuaki blushes hard as Sano laughs beside him. Then the school bell rings and the thought hits him like a truck. Could it be that she really is in love with him? Another girl calls out his name and the chaos continues. Hina Nishina is back and she's not happy. He even called her cute earlier, and now she's got ammunition. She points out that she's this cute and has a huge chest, and he gets to sit next to her for the second year in a row. She pouts hard and declares she should be number one, right? Meanwhile, somewhere else entirely, a girl with short dark hair is seething. In the past, Kazuaki told her he likes cool people. She's been his childhood friend forever, and she's worked hard to become cooler than any other girl. She's his only childhood friend, so obviously she's his number one, right? Back at home, Kazuaki's cousin Satori Inoue shows up. She goes to the prestigious college he's aiming for, and she's his tutor. A lot happened today, so he's a bit out of it, and she suggests they call it quits. But he says no. He wants to keep going a little longer. Satori pats his head gently and agrees to push for a bit longer. Kazuaki steels himself internally. That's right. He made up his mind. He won't get the wrong idea again. Not about any of them. This is about studying and nothing else. Satori doesn't know about his heartbreak or the chaos at school. She praises his studies and mentions it's a shame he got sick before the last exam. Kazuaki laughs it off, but inside he's clenching. He acts all serious on the outside, but he's just overly self-conscious and can't stop thinking about romance. He calls out to Satori Ni in his thoughts, and the weight of it sits heavy. She's the one person who sees him as just a diligent student, nothing more. He wants to keep it that way, even though his head is a complete mess. The gap between who he pretends to be and who he actually is keeps getting wider. Satori tells him that's a secret when he asks her something important. She refuses to teach him what he really needs to know and says it's important to desire things every now and then. Then his phone buzzes with a message, and she notes how unusual that is. Kazuaki wonders what's going on. Sano-san has texted him asking for his contact info. He stares at the phone in disbelief. What in the world is happening? Satori bonks him on the head with his phone and tells him to come on. He's not focused at all. The study session is falling apart, and it's only the first day. The older girl with wavy hair, the one who thought he liked smart and mature girls, is reeling. He kept singing her praises, so she assumed she was his type. She's known him since he was a baby and thought she understood him the most. Every signal she read might have been completely wrong. The childhood friend remembers how she transformed herself to match what he said he wanted. She became cool, composed, everything she thought would make her stand out. And yet here she is, watching other girls close in from every direction. The confidence she built is starting to crack. Kazuaki stands alone, thinking about all of them. Kazuaki, Aki-kun, Okabe. Every girl in his life sees a different version of him, and none of them see the whole picture. He's surrounded by girls who might actually be in love with him, and he's too busy studying to deal with any of it. But the semester just started, and this is only the beginning. Kazuaki sits in class thinking about Hina Nishina, the girl who sits next to him. She's the only one who talks to him in class, cheerful, cute, and kind. And that's exactly why he knows he needs to be careful, because those are the exact traits that mess with a guy's head. Sano-san catches him staring and asks if they're close. Kazuaki is confused. Close? He feels like he's just being observed, not having a friendship. She stares at him silently until he panics and asks if he was bothering her, and she calmly says no, she was just wondering why he keeps looking her way. Meanwhile, Hina's friends corner her in the classroom, asking if she's close with Okabe-kun. She brushes it off, saying they just sit next to each other and she can talk to pretty much anyone. But her friend drops the bomb. Okabe-kun is for sure in love with her. Hina's eyes go wide, and she shuts it down fast, insisting there's nobody like that. But that reaction says everything. Kazuaki notices Sano-san and Okabe talking across the room, and even he thinks it doesn't seem like there's anything romantic between them. Just as he's thinking that, Sano-san and Kazuaki are spotted talking together, and other students call it a rare sight. Hina watches from across the room, telling herself she's known him way longer. Hina struts over with full confidence, declaring that when Kazuaki needs to talk, he knows who to come to. She tells him he can talk to her about anything, twirling her hair with a smug grin. The energy shift in the room is immediate, and she's making sure everyone sees her claim her territory. Then Kazuaki does the worst possible thing. He turns to Hina, blushing, and mutters asking if she thinks Sano-san likes him. Hina freezes. He's obviously thinking about another girl, and until yesterday, he was calling Hina cute. The whiplash hits her like a truck, and she can barely process what just happened. Kazuaki tells Hina she's the only one he can talk to about these kinds of things, and thanks her for it. He's relieved, thinking he's found a confidant, completely oblivious to the damage he just caused. Hina repeats his words in her head, the only one, and her expression shifts into something complicated and raw. Hina walks home replaying the whole thing. He's close to girls other than Sano-san, and not to mention there's a childhood friend in the picture too. She's only been in the same class as him for a year, and she just happens to talk to him a bit more than the others. The gap between what she thought they had and what they actually have is starting to sink in. Hina cheerfully says goodbye to Kazuaki and Rui-kwan at the railroad crossing, waving with her usual bright energy. Kazuaki stammers a goodbye while Rui heads off in her direction. The two of them walk together into the evening, and Hina watches them disappear down the road with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Kazuaki explains that Rui-kwan is his childhood friend who lives nearby, a year below them. Hina perks up and asks if Aki-kun is getting along with everyone in class, saying she's worried about him. She reminds him that he spent all of elementary school with just her, and the weight of that history hangs between them. Then Hina spots another girl walking with Kazuaki, and her alarm bells go off. Who's that? She's super pretty. Kazuaki introduces her as Nishina-san from his class, and Hina's shock is immediate. The childhood friend's carefully maintained composure cracks as she realizes the competition just got a whole lot bigger. Hina's friend teases that there's no way Kazuaki doesn't like her, and Hina declares she knew it. She's number one in his heart. It's obvious to everyone around them. She spots Kazuaki on her way home, and her confidence soars. She calls out to him, cheerful as ever, completely unaware of what's coming. Kazuaki apologizes for the random question, but since he ran into her, he figures he'll ask now instead of tomorrow. He wants to know if she'd like to study together on Saturday. Hina's face goes blank for a second. She wasn't expecting this at all, and the word "but" starts forming in her mind before she can stop it. Hina's internal monologue kicks into overdrive. He's totally into her. She knew it. He's being so forward, asking for a study session instead of a date, and that's so like him. She says sure with a big smile, and Kazuaki breathes a sigh of relief while she announces she's looking forward to it. We flash back to Rui's childhood, where a young Kazuaki told her he thinks a cool name is nice. Little Rui beamed. He likes cool things, and her name is cool, so he must like her. Ever since that day, that single offhand comment rewired her entire identity and set her on a path she's still walking. Rui arrives at school and everyone is already buzzing about her. They call her Rui-sama, gushing about how cool she is, how she was the ace of the volleyball club in middle school, how she might be a model. She absorbs all of it with a calm expression, internally affirming, that's right, she's cool. And that's why Kazuaki will notice her. The next morning, Rui approaches Kazuaki at the school gate, calling out to him. His classmates are shocked. A second year and a first year know each other? She greets him with a sparkling smile, and he says morning back. She tells everyone he's her childhood friend, and the crowd squeals while Kazuaki thinks, at least this much is fine. Kazuaki watches Rui walk away with the other girls and thinks she's gotten even cooler and more popular since he last saw her. He tells himself there's no need to be anxious about it, because the two of them have a special bond as childhood friends. That word, special, carries more weight for one of them than the other. Kazuaki invites Rui to a study session at his place, and her eyes light up like fireworks just went off inside her head. Aki-kun's home. She hasn't been there since elementary school. She's thrilled, already telling herself she believed in him, that even if he got close to other girls, his childhood friend would still be number one. Sano-san asks Kazuaki if he invited Rui to the study session, and he confirms, yeah, he did what Sano-san told him to do, and invited Nishina and the others too. Sano points out that he doesn't actually know Rui, and asks if he's okay with that. Kazuaki admits it wasn't easy inviting all those girls over, but thanks Sano with a grateful grin. The study session is set, the girls are all coming, and not a single one of them realizes they're walking into a battlefield. Sano-san asks Kazuaki why he had her do the inviting instead of just doing it himself. He tells her there's no point in him doing it, but for some reason, when Sano-san asks him to do something, he can't refuse. She looks at him softly and says it's because it's him, Kazu-kun. He has no idea what that even means, but the weight of her words lingers. Kazuaki remembers telling everyone they'd be studying at his place, and now the day has arrived. He forgot to mention it was Sano-san's idea to invite the others, and figures it'll be fine. But at this moment, none of them knew that a battle was about to take place. Meanwhile, Hina is replaying Kazuaki's invitation in her head, studying at his house, their first time meeting outside school. She thinks it's kind of forward for someone like Wakame, but tells herself she's not easy and nothing will happen. Still, she decided to wear a cute matching set of underwear, just in case, insisting she'd never actually show him. Hina meets Kazuaki at the station that morning, apologizing for keeping him waiting. She had a feeling this wouldn't be a one-on-one hangout. There's no way Okabe would try that. She knew Sano-san would show up too, and blames herself for not asking who else was invited, but also wishes he'd told her. The girls arrive at Kazuaki's place, and Hina cheerfully announces she's pretty used to visiting boys' houses. Sano-san calls it a big fat lie, saying it's her first time. Kazuaki insists it's not impressive and demands to know why he'd have to lie about it, while Hina calls Nishina-san impressive with a teasing grin. The front door opens and the girls thank him for having them, hearts pounding. Rui was the first to arrive and has been waiting in Kazuaki's room alone, and she's not happy about it. She was super lonely by herself for over 10 minutes while he went to pick up the other girls. She gushes about how the room looks exactly the same and how it's just the two of them, but Kazuaki immediately dashes off to get the others, leaving her stunned. He returns with Hina and the rest, and Rui spots another girl already inside. Wait, there's another one? Rui scolds him for leaving her there while he went to collect more girls. She tells him it was mean, and he sheepishly apologizes. The childhood friend's territory is being invaded, and she didn't even get a warning. Hina is shocked that Rui has been to his house many times before, and that they're childhood friends from way back. Rui explains that he always ends up spoiling her since they've known each other forever. She pouts with a quiet humph, already staking her claim, and the tension in the room starts building before anyone even opens a textbook. Sano-san shyly offers snacks she brought for everyone, pulling out a mountain of chips and treats. The girls are excited, but Kazuaki declines. He's going to focus on studying and tells the three of them to enjoy the snacks without him. Everyone stares at him, wondering what's wrong with this guy who invited girls over just to ignore them. Kazuaki tells himself this was for the best, and that at least things won't get weird now. But then he accidentally glances over and catches a flash of something he shouldn't have seen. He whips around, blushing furiously, and stammers an apology. Hina forgives him since it was an accident, noting she wore a cute pair today, while everyone else screams that there's nothing good about any of this. The study session continues, but the chaos doesn't stop. Hina starts feeding Rui snacks, and both girls are munching away together in a weirdly intimate moment. Rui thinks the food tastes better when someone else feeds it to you, while Hina secretly wanted to be the one feeding Kazuaki instead. He watches from across the table completely baffled. Rui decides she's had enough of watching Kazuaki get sandwiched between two beauties and declares she'll put a stop to it. She asks if she can join in too, sparkling with determination. Hina panics and insists it's not like she's in love with him or anything, then redirects the snacks toward Rui instead, since Okabe said he didn't want any. Kazuaki looks up and sees Sano-san sitting beside him, and he's blushing like crazy. Hina catches his expression from across the room and freezes. Why does he look so happy about it? The jealousy hits her instantly, and she can barely contain it, wondering why he's making that face for someone else. Meanwhile, Satori arrives at Kazuaki's house, knocking on the door with a smirk. She's been looking forward to this, being all alone in his room with a high school boy who's head over heels for her. The naughty cousin is ready to have some fun tormenting a young adolescent boy, and she's not holding back. But when Satori walks in, she's greeted by a room full of girls surrounding her cousin. She came here to help him study, not to check out his harem. She declares she's not taking part in any immoral relations, while the girls smile and thank her for helping out. Satori is so bright with rage that Kazuaki can barely look at her. Kazuaki introduces everyone. Satori Inoue is his cousin and tutor. Nishina and Sano-san are classmates, and Rui is his childhood friend. He apologizes for asking Satori to come earlier than usual, but wants her to help everyone with their homework too. Satori stares at the situation with a quiet, clearly processing the battlefield she just walked into. We cut to Satori's college life, where she sits alone in a lecture hall watching flashy, outgoing students make plans for karaoke. She rages internally about couples on campus, calling them shameless delinquents and declaring it collective public indecency. College isn't cheap, and their parents would cry, she fumes, completely disgusted by romance happening around her. But then she catches herself. That said, she's about to go have a one-on-one tutoring session with a high school boy in his room, and it's a boy who's head over heels for her. She smirks with a self-satisfied ready to enjoy tormenting Kazuaki, completely unaware that the dynamic she's walking into has changed entirely. Satori knocks on the door, and Kazuaki lets her in, and the first thing she notices is the crowd. Her fantasy of a private tutoring session crumbles on the spot. The naughty cousin energy evaporates as she realizes she's now just another woman in a room full of girls who all have their sights set on the same oblivious boy. Back in his room, Rui takes charge and announces they should get started studying. The textbooks come out, the snacks are spread across the table, and every girl in that room is carrying a secret she thinks nobody else knows about. Kazuaki sits in the middle of it all, focused on his notes, completely blind to the war that's about to erupt around him. Sano-san notices something is off between Kazuaki and Hina in the classroom. She asks if something happened between them, but both of them turn away awkwardly and insist nothing happened at all. The silence between them says more than any words could, and Sano watches them with quiet curiosity. Hina finally speaks up, saying she's fine and apologizing for not talking to Kazuaki much lately. She wanted to have a chat and ended up dragging him somewhere without thinking. She teases him, asking if he got nervous, then laughs it off. But when she catches him blushing, her own face starts to flush. Because what actually happened was a disaster. Hina panicked and hid inside a locker, pulling Kazuaki in with her without thinking. Now they're pressed together in total darkness. His face inches from hers, and she can feel his breath on her skin. She wanted to be alone with him, but she definitely didn't plan for things to go this far. Hina's heart is slamming against her ribs as their bodies press together in the cramped space. She wanted to joke around like she always does, but she didn't plan what she was going to say. The closeness is overwhelming, and every small movement sends her brain into overdrive. This is way beyond what she bargained for. She tries to recover, asking if they started dating as a joke, but Kazuaki takes it at face value and cheerfully announces that yeah, they actually started dating yesterday. Hina freezes. He says it so casually, so happily, and she can't tell if he's playing along or if he means something else entirely. The next day at school, Hina asks Kazuaki if he has some time after class. He barely has a chance to respond before the bell rings, and she grabs him by the arm and drags him down the hallway at full speed. The classroom door slides open and they disappear together, leaving everyone staring. Kazuaki stands in the hallway processing what just happened while girls nearby gossip and laugh. He overhears them saying Sano-san is a good girl and he doesn't hate her, but then Rui appears calling him Kazu-kun while Hina calls out Oka. At the same time, the classmates gasp. Kazu-kun? She's using his first name? Do they think those two started dating? Ever since the study meeting, things have shifted between everyone. It feels like Kazuaki and Sano-san have gotten closer, and Hina notices it immediately. She tells herself she has friends she can talk to, but the little conversations she enjoyed having with Kazuaki between classes, those felt special, and now they're slipping away. The girls all agree they should hold another study meeting sometime. Sano-san was so good at teaching and Satori made everything easy to understand. Hina even jokes about doing it at her place next time. Day after day since Sano-san first spoke to Kazuaki, the dynamics have been quietly shifting around him. Satori watches the study session unfold and feels a warmth she didn't expect. She reassures herself that Kazuaki likes studying and he likes her. He's still innocent, not some womanizer. She's the only one who truly knows the real him, and she could never be disappointed in him. She declares they won't leave until everyone grasps the material. Kazuaki thanks Satori-ni sincerely, catching her off guard just as she was about to scold him for bringing girls home. He tells her it was his first time holding a study meeting, and he wasn't sure what to do, but he's really glad she showed up to help. Satori softens instantly, and the others ask if this was really his first time doing this. Satori takes charge like the college student she is, pulling out test prep workbooks and distributing them to the group. She tells everyone to work through one page and save questions for later. Kazuaki watches her transform into full tutor mode, amazed. Then she turns to him with an intensity that makes the whole room go quiet. Sano-san approaches with a question, and someone notices she looks like she's been crying. She claims her contact lens is just out of place, but the truth is heavier than that. Her whole identity feels like it's crumbling. When Satori asks which part she needs help with, Sano quietly answers, all of it. Satori snaps. She wants in on whatever's happening with Kazuaki and these girls. She demands to know which part of the workbook they need help with, grabbing Kazuaki in a headlock. Then, a girl politely asks about a problem she doesn't understand, and Satori shifts gears, wondering if these cute girls are also smart. If they're cute and smart, she fumes. What's the point of just being smart? Satori's paranoia hits maximum. She thought Kazuaki was a loner like her, so why does he have all these women around him? That message on his phone the other day, was it from one of these girls? She stares at Rui, Hina, and Sano-san with wild eyes, trying to figure out which one he's closest to. The question burns through her. Which one did he do it with? We flash forward to Satori congratulating Kazuaki on passing his exams, cherry blossoms falling around them. She tells him he worked really hard and offers him a little reward from her. Then she starts undressing right in front of him. She thought her reward would help him graduate from being a virgin, and Kazuaki screams in absolute shock. Kazuaki thanks her and tells her to just start the lesson, and Satori is internally devastated. She thinks back to when he was a kid, sitting beside her on the couch, calling out Satori-ni over and over. He was the only boy who truly acknowledged and respected her, and he looked at her with pure admiration. He was madly in love with her, wasn't he? The reality of the study session crashes down on everyone at once. Hina and Rui are gloomy, realizing Kazuaki had a gorgeous college-age tutor helping him this whole time. She's a total beauty, she seems nice, and her figure is unreal. Both girls sink into a silent despair, while Kazuaki has no clue why the mood just died.
This guy has 0 friends, fails his exams, and just wants a quiet, peaceful life. So why are 4 different girls suddenly fighting over him? A blonde who calls him her first, a childhood friend who won't let go, his own cousin, and a senpai who dragged him into a locker to hide. And not one of them knows about the others. He thinks he's just bad at talking to people. He has no idea what he's walked into.
It started the way most things do. Small, a casual little line tossed across the classroom. We should hold a study meeting again sometime. Everyone agreed Satori-san had made everything so easy to understand. The kind of tutor who turns confusion into clarity. But then someone slipped in a sneakier suggestion. Maybe next time they could do it at her place. I'm kidding, she laughed. And just like that, day after day after day, something between Okabe and these girls began to quietly shift. Because ever since Sano-san first spoke to Okabe, the spaces between classes stopped feeling empty. Sure, she had friends, people she could talk to, but it was different with him. Those little conversations they had between periods, the throwaway moments nobody else noticed, she'd started living for them. And the more she replayed them in her head, the more one terrifying question began to bloom. Was this actually becoming something real? Then the doubt hit her like ice water. So he wasn't into me? The thought made her tremble where she stood, her whole body betraying her, because she wanted what the others seemed to be getting. The closeness, the attention, the chance to just be near him. She wanted to be alone with him too, and the feeling was so sharp it scared her. So she made a move. Except she hadn't planned a single word of what she'd say. If she joked around like she always did, she could keep it casual, keep it safe, ask the question without anyone knowing how much it mattered. Did you two start dating? She pressed, promising she'd keep it secret. And then, with a bright, easy smile that detonated everything, the answer came back. Yeah, we actually started dating yesterday. The world tilted, but somehow it ended up being just the two of them again, until a single pull yanked everything sideways. Sano-san was here? Panic surged, a body slid into view, and then nothing. Silence. Standing alone in the empty hall, one of them could only wonder, heart pounding. Did I just imagine that? She hadn't imagined anything. In a moment of pure instinct, she'd grabbed Okabe and dragged him into hiding. No plan, no thought, just terror and adrenaline. And now they were crammed into a tiny space, pressed against each other, every inch of contact screaming louder than her heartbeat. We're pressing against each other, she realized, her body locking up, her fists clenching against the impossible closeness of it all. Outside, footsteps slid past. Inside, Okabe's heart was hammering so hard she could feel it through his chest. Badump, badump. The rhythm pounded against her like a confession. Neither of them could speak. Then a voice cut through. Nishina? The door clicked. Caught. She scrambled to cover it. Sorry about that. We haven't really talked much lately, so I wanted to have a chat. And I ended up dragging you in there. She laughed it off, asked if he'd gotten nervous, played it like a joke. But underneath the grin, her cheeks were burning, her eyes locked on the small detail she couldn't unsee. And watching all of this unfold, Sano-san stood frozen, her expression unreadable. Did something happen with you two? The question hung in the air over the quiet classroom. Both of them froze, faces flushing, hiding behind their hands, and answered in unison the only way they could. No, nothing at all. Ever since that day, she couldn't look him in the eyes. The memory of that closeness blushing across her face every single time. Even now, just glancing at him sent her heart racing all over again. So when the chance came, she pushed it down, played it cool, and asked the question that would pull her right back into his orbit. Can I do it with you? And without missing a beat, Kazu-kun just looked at her and said, Sure. Out doing cleaning duty, the conversation drifted somewhere unexpected. She admitted she does almost all the chores at home, so her body just runs on autopilot now, which explained why her room had been spotless. But then Okabe worked up the nerve to ask the thing that had been gnawing at him. Why did she start talking to him in the first place? It felt almost shameful to ask again, but he had to know. After all, there were people like Nishina who were so much easier to talk to. Her answer landed like a thunderclap. I want you to be my first. His heart slammed. Her first? His mind raced through every possible meaning before she clarified with that flat, unbothered look. The first person she exchanged contact info with. The first one she held a study session with. Because, she said simply, she'd always known he was a kind and good person. So let's keep experiencing lots of firsts together. The words wrapped around him warm and sincere, but his brain wouldn't stop spinning. What was Sano-san actually after? Was she being genuine, or was she enjoying watching him squirm and get all flustered? Does she want me to get the wrong idea? He panicked, blurted out something about trash on the ground, and bolted. And that panic spiraled into a full confession of his own insecurities. He just wanted a peaceful, stable life. Instead, he kept failing exams and losing his composure at every turn. He was still painfully self-conscious, and he knew he had to do something about this weak mind of his. But before he could finish the thought, Sano-san's voice cut through with two casual words. Hey, Kazu-kun! That's when the real disaster revealed itself. They'd wandered off during the class cleanup, and now they were lost in the woods. Okabe went pale as crows cawed overhead, but he forced himself to stay calm for her sake. He rattled off survival tips like a man holding panic together with tape. Avoid eye contact with wild boars, never turn your back on a bear, and if it came to it, he'd use himself as bait. But don't worry. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd been so buried in his own thoughts that he dragged Sano-san into this mess too. They pieced it together slowly. Trash on the ground meant they couldn't be far from where they started, probably the mountains right behind the school. Step by step, he guided her through the brush, calling out warnings to watch her footing. The way out was finally starting to feel possible. Then she stopped him cold. Let's... His breath caught. Hold hands. She extended her hand toward him, cheeks faintly pink, that small smile playing at her lips. And there in the rustling green, the two of them stood, fingers finally linked. But they weren't as alone as they thought. Why are your hands... Nishina's voice sliced through the moment, her eyes locked on their joined fingers. Sano-san just smiled and dropped the bomb. That's another first for us. Okabe scrambled to explain. No, it was Sano-san. While Nishina pouted, muttering that he was craftier than she'd ever thought. But Nishina's mind had already snagged on one thing and wouldn't let go. They were holding hands, weren't they? Her face flushed hot as she stewed, the jealousy bubbling up before she could stop it. I thought I was the one you're into. Don't go holding other girls' hands right in front of the one you like. The thought screamed in her head, even if she'd never say it out loud. But the truth deflated her just as fast. She had no actual proof he liked her at all. Or at least, that's what she told herself. Until she remembered that moment, the two of them pressed together, his arm against her, the heat of it. What were the odds he didn't fall for her after that? Because in that cramped little space, Okabe's heart had been pounding just as hard as hers, and that throbbing memory wasn't something either of them could shake. Alone in her room that night, Nishina stewed over the question that wouldn't leave her alone. Okabe likes me, doesn't he? She replayed every glance, every brush of contact, hunting for proof. But the second she tried to convince herself, the doubt crashed back in. No, she muttered, collapsing face first onto her bed. No, no. The denial kept tumbling out of her. No, no, no. Even as her mind betrayed her with the memory she couldn't shake. And then she heard it again, that voice from the woods that had wrecked her composure. Just keep your eyes fixed on me. She'd wanted to keep going. She'd wanted to hold his hand. The wanting was the problem, and she knew it. Meanwhile, across the school, a quieter storm was brewing. A short-haired girl turned to her friend and dropped a casual bomb. Aki-kun grabbed Nishina-senpai's hand just now. Wait, wasn't Aki-kun the childhood friend she'd been talking about? Where? Over there. And just like that, the gossip had a witness, watching from a distance like a hawk. That night, Okabe spiraled. So many things had happened that day, and he was certain he'd come off as a total creep. He couldn't focus on his studies, couldn't think straight, couldn't do anything right. He excused himself to the restroom just to escape the spinning in his head, but the door clicked shut, and his mind only got louder. Elsewhere, in a cozy living room, a blonde girl sat texting with a faint blush on her cheeks. A rare sight, apparently. Wow, you're sending a message to someone? A younger voice gasped. The girl by the window was Kiara, Sano-san, and the little one peering over her shoulder beamed up at her. Welcome home, Oni-chan. On the shelf behind them sat a photo. 3 faces, 1 happy family. The next morning, Okabe rode the elevator down, and the doors kept opening on the same short-haired girl, floor after floor, until they finally stood face to face. Morning, Aki-kun, she chirped with a smile. What a coincidence. It was his childhood friend, and she lit up at the chance to walk to school together for the first time in ages. Morning, he answered. They fell into old rhythms on the walk. She asked why he hadn't joined any clubs, mentioned how middle school morning practice had kept them apart, asked if he remembered she'd been the ace player. Then, dropping her voice, she added that not joining would have meant not getting to see him. I wouldn't want you to get lonely. A beat. Just kidding. There she goes again, he thought, saying cool things like that. The memory pulled them both back to elementary school, when they used to hold hands every single day on the walk to class. Back then, it was innocent, the kind of thing other kids teased them about. Whoa, he's holding hands with a girl, the little classmates had hollered. He'd been mortified then, but somewhere underneath, a younger version of him had thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Remember that? She asked now, softer. Yeah, he remembered, and in her head, a fierce resolve was forming. She wasn't going to let him hold hands with anyone else. She had to remind him of all those days he'd held her hand, back when his palm was smaller than hers, back before everything got complicated between them. But Okabe's heart was a tangle of guilt. He couldn't stop thinking about Sano-san, the way her hand had felt, soft and warm, like being embraced. His childhood friend kept reaching for his hand, squeezing it gently, and his brain short-circuited. Is she rubbing my hand? The contrast hit him hard. Her hand used to be bigger than his, and now his swallowed hers whole. Then suddenly she pulled away, flustered. Maybe this is enough for today, she bolted, blurting that she was going to buy a drink, telling him to go on ahead. Standing there alone, Okabe finally understood. Things weren't like they used to be. They were no longer those carefree kids. His childhood friend, hidden around the corner, was spiraling too. She'd showered that morning, but now she was sweaty again. What if he got grossed out because her hands weren't as soft as before? She'd practically sprinted away from him. Both of them stood there, gloomy and convinced they'd ruined everything, neither realizing the other was thinking the exact same thing. Back home, Okabe's older cousin cornered him with a knowing look. Could it be he was already dating one of them? Or worse, did he already do it with one of them? She leaned in close. It's okay, you can tell me. Did you get a girlfriend? He gasped, and then she fumbled, trying to sound like a cool, sexy cousin and landing somewhere closer to a creepy uncle. Wait, that came out wrong! He shut it down fast. He didn't have a girlfriend, nor did he intend to get one. Right now, he just wanted to focus on his studies. His cousin, Satori Ni, exhaled in relief. But Okabe's imagination ran wild, conjuring teasing little voices whispering about friends with benefits and how there's no limit on how many you can have. His face flushed at the wicked thoughts he couldn't seem to stop. Satori Ni saw right through him. You can't get anything past me, he admitted, calling her by name. He confessed his head had been a mess lately, that he couldn't go on like this, and didn't know what to do. She listened quietly, then made up her mind. This was her chance to show him he could rely on her. Kazuaki was genuinely stressed, and she wanted to help. I won't tell you to just resist all your urges, she said carefully. There are some things you can't do anything about. So when you feel that way... She trailed off, building towards something, her cheeks coloring. Why don't we blow off some steam together? Then she peeled off her top. Satori Ni? Revealing the lacy underwear beneath, and Okabe's brain melted into a flustered heap. What do you mean? She framed it as pure support. This was where she'd prove he could lean on her. I could go with you, if you don't mind, she offered, shifting closer. Forget about those three. I'll pay for everything. He stared at her, processing, and somewhere in her chest, a feeling she didn't have a name for was starting to bloom. Thanks, Satori Ni, he said brightly. I'll try doing that. She felt suddenly, inexplicably embarrassed. Why now, when she'd known him since he was a baby? Her heart raced as a giddy thought slipped out. Is he gonna invite me? That's fine. Go for it, Kazuaki. Come on, she cheered, practically vibrating with hope. But the next day at school, the rug got pulled out from under her. Sano-san sidled up to Okabe with a sly, Kazu-kun, and an invitation. Why don't we go somewhere together? Her older sister had given her spare tickets and told her to bring a friend. Nearby, 2 other girls watched, frozen, the realization dawning on all of them at once. In his head, Okabe heard Satori Ni's voice. It's important to blow off some steam. Normally, he'd decline an invitation like this, but this time he heard himself say it. I'll go. The girl who'd hung back, ready for rejection, lit up like a firework. Yay! One of the watchers gasped with a hopeful... The moment had landed exactly as she had dreamed. Then Sano-san fanned out the tickets with a sly little flap. By the way, I've got 4 of them. Okabe froze. Got anyone else in mind? The question hung in the air over the schoolyard, loaded with possibility and danger. And in her own room, one of the girls clutched a pillow to her face, kicking her feet, completely undone. It was like her chest was tightening, squeezing tighter with every breath. It's not like Okabe's super handsome or anything, she insisted to no one, even as her heart pounded ba-dimp, ba-dimp against the pillow. Why is this happening? In the classroom, Okabe's mind churned through his confusion about all 3 girls. Sano-san was kind, and she'd called him cute, but he had no friends and did nothing but study. Why him? Across the room, each girl clung to the same fragile hope. He'd said those words just to me, hadn't he? Sano-san, the cousin, the childhood friend. 3 of them, each certain she was the special one. The thought crystallized into something fierce and panicked all at once. He likes me, doesn't he? Wait, he's only said it to me, right? Their hearts fretted and twisted, the jealousy and hope tangling together into one desperate need to be the chosen one. None of them knew how many rivals they actually had. Meanwhile, Nishina sat at home with her wildly precocious little sister, Rina, who casually announced she had a boyfriend. Huh? Nishina nearly fell off the couch. Her 6th grade sister had pulled ahead of her in the romance department, and all Nishina could choke out was a strangled, "Si, congrats!" When Rina turned it around and asked about her, Nishina panicked. Well, I'm already visiting his place? She blurted, which technically wasn't a lie. Inside, she was screaming. There was no way she could admit the truth, that he hadn't confessed to her, that prettier girls were circling, and that she was dying of jealousy. She clung to her pride as the older sister, spinning half-truths to save face. It's not a lie! Not technically, at least! Rina pressed harder. Did you already hold hands with him? Of course, Nishina insisted, sweating bullets. It's not a lie, it's still technically true. Then Rina, far too worldly for her age, casually suggested they should go on a double date. You're acting way too grown up, Rina, Nishina muttered, both impressed and terrified. But underneath the bravado, Nishina's real wish slipped out as she fidgeted with the blanket. I want to go on a date with him. Just the two of us. Then Rina dropped a bombshell of her own. When Nishina asked what kind of dates she went on, Rina rattled off the shopping mall and the arcade. Oh wait, the arcade was with my ex. Your ex? It got worse. Nishina couldn't even keep track of Rina's dating history. She couldn't remember what number boyfriend that ex even was. So he wasn't even her first? Rina ticked through them like a grocery list. Her current boyfriend from the class next door, a middle schooler before that, her friend's older brother before that, plus another boy from her class who'd just confessed. Nishina sat there stunned, sweating, completely outclassed by a 12-year-old. Something inside her snapped. But I haven't even dated anyone yet, she wailed, then immediately backpedaled into big sister mode. You shouldn't be dating people that easily. You should only date someone you really love. Rina blinked up at her, and Nishina realized she'd said the quiet part out loud, her own loneliness leaking through the lecture. You're starting to get me worried. Then Rina, wise beyond her years, turned the lesson right back on her sister. When you fall in love, you can't hold yourself back, can you? You gotta start dating them as soon as you realize it, or time will just keep passing by. The other person's feelings might change. Nishina froze, the words landing harder than any tease could. And someone else might swoop in and take them, you know, Rina finished. Nishina's face went slack with dread, because she had no way to refute that. Not with Sano-san and the others already closing in. A little sister in 6th grade had just diagnosed her entire crisis in 2 sentences. Rina kept dispensing wisdom like a tiny love guru, way too composed for her age, adding that if it didn't work out, they could always just break up. But one thing cut through clearly. Nishina had to make a move before someone got to him first. She clenched her fists with new resolve. I'll start by asking him out on a date. And right on cue, somewhere across town, a bright voice was already beating her to it. Kazu-kun, why don't we go somewhere together? Back in the classroom, Sano-san, Kiara, leaned in to recruit one more for the trip, sweetly cooing Hina-chan at Nishina. The pet name caught Nishina completely off guard, melting her on the spot, and she fired one right back. Sanopi. Pie. The two of them dissolved into a flurry of cutesy nicknames, and somewhere in the giddy haze the matter was settled. Nishina was coming too. It sounds like fun, but there was still one empty seat. Okabe sat at his desk, sweating, as the group debated who to invite for the 4th ticket. Then his childhood friend, Kuon, popped up beside him, beaming. What? It sounds like fun! That made 4, but in her head she steeled herself with a private vow. This time it'll be just the right number, and I'm gonna do it. I got this! And she did. I did it! She cheered, burying her face in her sleeves, practically glowing. She rattled off destinations at lightning speed. The aquarium? The zoo? A movie? Bouncing with excitement. But across the room, Okabe's brain spun the worst possible interpretation. That means Sano-san wants to go somewhere alone with him, right? He caught himself just in time. That was close. I almost got the wrong idea there for a sec. When the day arrived, the group gathered at an amusement park, and Satori had come along in full force, posing in shorts and flaunting the charm of an adult woman at an amusement park. The kids greeted her cheerfully, glad to have a reliable grown-up around. But internally, she deflated. Maybe I'm just here to look after these kids. Not quite the romantic outing she'd hoped for. The teasing started immediately. You don't have any male friends? Well, yeah, I do. It's all girls again. What is this, a harem? Okabe, mortified, explained that this whole trip was his way of saying thanks and apologizing for the study session, though he wasn't sure it even counted. The girls latched on to one detail. Satori-san doesn't count as a love interest, right? And the realization landed. That's why he invited her. Ah! Then the last two arrived, and the air shifted. Sano-san, Kiara, and Kuon-san stepped out dressed to the nines, one in ripped jeans and a tank, the other in a sleek black dress, looking nothing like their school selves. The whole group stalled for a second, but Nishina noticed something off and whispered to Okabe, Hey, Okabe, I thought you only had 4 tickets. His face froze. She pressed harder. With one extra person, somebody would be left over. What was he going to do? Okabe quietly held up a 5th ticket. I bought a 1-day ticket for myself. He'd felt bad using one of the 4 gift tickets on himself, so he'd paid his own way without telling anyone. Around him, the girls' eyes went wide with quiet admiration. The reactions cascaded. Kuon's eyes sparkled. "That's so cool!" Satorini gasped, suddenly flustered. "Wait, I'm an adult, so shouldn't I be paying?" Okabe waved it off, saying he was doing it because he wanted to. And in her chest, the older cousin's resolve hardened again. This was how a reliable older sister should act. She'd make him rely on her more and more. Then Satori Ni whipped out her trump card. "We're going in," she declared, slamming down a stack of papers. A travel guide? A whole printed itinerary, complete with cartoon mascots. "We'll do what's written on this guide today." The kids gawked. Was this a school trip? Was she a teacher? But Okabe just drooped, muttering that if she came this prepared, he'd never be able to repay her, and would only feel more indebted. Satori Ni, smug, flashed a priority pass too. "That's amazing, Satori Ni." "Don't worry about it," she said softly. "I'm doing it because I want to." This is how a reliable older sister should act, she reminded herself, even as her heart did something traitorous. Then Okabe, clinging to her arm, mumbled the magic words. "I can't live without you, Satori Ni." She chuckled, melting inside, the nearby plushie mascot squealing, "Wah, that's so cute!" And just like that, her plan to make him depend on her was working a little too well. Lit up by the park's glittering lights, Kiara stood wide-eyed and pink-cheeked, taking it all in like it was a dream. The others snapped photos and pointed in every direction. "Oh, over there, too! Whoa!" Gathering around the mascots while the rides loomed overhead. The Ferris wheel turned, a coaster screamed past, and the whole place rumbled to life. The day was just getting started. Kiara turned to a quiet companion and gently asked if this was her first time at an amusement park. The answer came hesitantly, weighted with something heavier than the moment. "My parents were strict, so I never got to visit places like this." It was a small confession, but it cracked the cheerful surface of the day. And nearby, someone caught it. Oh no. Sensing the bittersweet truth behind it. Sano-san, Kiara, refused to let the mood sour. "Let's make the most of today and have fun," she declared, and the words lit a quiet spark in the girl beside her. Watching from a distance, Okabe softened. He'd warned everyone not to get carried away. But here he was, marveling at how Kiara always kept it together and acted so reliable, the steady heart of the group. Satori Ni, meanwhile, was having the time of her life, posing with the park's panda mascot, drink already in hand, fully committed to soaking up the day. "It's still morning, but she's already drinking," someone noted, half amused, but Okabe just smiled. "I'm glad to see she's enjoying herself." Then a cheerful voice rang out. "Let's ride that one next." At the coaster, Kuon turned to Okabe with a sly little smile. "This is a pretty intense ride," she said. "Do you want me to sit next to you?" The others gawked. She took the initiative, as the boldness of it sent a jolt through the group. It was a clean, confident move, and for a second it looked like she'd seized the moment outright. But the others weren't about to be outdone. Kuon insisted she wasn't actually scared at all. She just thought he might be. Then Kiara countered with her own angle. It really was her first time, so she wasn't sure how to ride it. "Sit next to me, Kazuaki!" The competition for the seat beside him quietly detonated, and Okabe, oblivious as ever, concluded it was settled. The next ride threw them a curveball. It seated groups of 3. One of the girls steeled herself with a private vow. "On this one, I'll get my way." "Let's do rock, paper, scissors," she proposed brightly. Hands shot out over the railing, the silent battle for the seat beside Okabe playing out in a single throw. But the day was wearing on someone. When a break was suggested, Okabe offered to go buy everyone drinks. One of the girls waved him off, insisting she could handle it, that he must be tired, and bolted before he could argue. Watching her dash away unsteadily, the group exchanged a glance. "I'll go help her," Okabe said, and headed after her. He found her struggling and gently called her out. "You should have sat down on the bench and had a little break," he said. "You've always been bad with these kinds of things." It was his childhood friend, Kuon, and the familiarity in his voice gave her pause. She'd insisted she could handle it, that everyone was having so much fun, and she didn't want to ruin the mood. "I thought I could handle the rides at least," she murmured. But Okabe remembered the truth from years ago. She always used to get dizzy riding buses or cars, the two of them just kids on a bench. Some things never changed, and he'd never forgotten. "I'll go buy the drinks, so just sit down and wait for me," Okabe told her, leaving Kuon to rest on the bench. As he walked off, she watched his back and murmured his name, "Aki-kun." Then she remembered something that made her chest tighten. He'd remembered. After all these years, he still knew exactly how she got, still looked out for her without being asked. She sat clutching the gift in her hands, the memory of those childhood bus rides washing over her. When he returned with the drinks, Okabe handed one over with a sheepish look. Here. Thanks. But inside, his confidence was crumbling. Can't say I'm feeling very cool right now, he admitted to himself. He wanted her to keep thinking he was cool, especially in front of all the other girls, because Aki-kun liked the cool side of him after all. He glanced down at his drink, deflating. But it's not going too well, huh? Little did he know, in her eyes he'd never looked more dependable. Back at the group, the others lit up the moment he reappeared. Hey, you're back. Sorry to keep you waiting. He passed out the drinks and snacks to a chorus of delight. Thanks. Ah, I love this one. Someone marveled it was their first time having churros, while another quietly asked how much it all cost, touched that he'd covered everything again. And as Okabe stood there surrounded by the girls who'd each set their hearts on him, one of them slurped her drink with a sly, knowing glance, the quiet war for his heart still simmering, every one of them certain she'd be the one to win him in the end.